Hello and welcome to Doha in Qatar. Welcome to an exclusive interview. Our guest today is the head of the political bureau of Hamas, Mr. Khaled Meshal. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
I want to begin with the situation in Gaza. We have seen a flare-up in recent days. Some rockets were fired at Israel. Israel struck back, hitting 4 Hamas targets, killing 2 children. Are you fearing that we are on the brink of yet another war in Gaza?
Hamas and the Palestinians in general don't want war. We suffer from occupation and colonization and the hostility of the State of Israel. Israel is threatening Gaza with war periodically. Israel is starving the Palestinians and is killing people in the West Bank by occupation, settlements, and Judaization of Jerusalem, and is threatening to expel Palestinians from the 1948 borders. Israel is hostile to us. We don't want war. And from time to time, tension rises in Gaza and on the borders with Gaza, but we want to avoid war. But in spite of this, we are a people who are seeking its independence and to get rid of colonization, and Gaza is trying to put an end to the unjust siege.
In recent weeks and months, we've seen what some are calling the knife intifada in Israel. Actually, there have been stabbings, of course, and retaliation, even some use of automatic weapons. Is this a third intifada?
It's certainly an intifada, and the Palestinian people, after having seen that all the paths to peace have been blocked, and because of the excesses of occupation and hostility by Israel, and after the robbing of its land and the imprisonment of thousands of Palestinians, the Palestinian people has a feeling that the world has lost interest in its cause. And the sparks of the flare-up were caused by an initiative taken by Netanyahu, who wanted to divide the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound after having desecrated it several times. The risk of the division of the compound was the spark that caused the flare-up.
So Hamas is supporting the killing of Israeli civilians?
No, your conclusions are wrong. Hamas and the Palestinian forces and the Palestinian people are defending themselves. It's a resistance. We are defending our children, our wives, our land, which is sacred to us. We are the victims of Israeli aggression, be it on the part of the army or of the settlers. There are 600,000 settlers in the West Bank and in Jerusalem. We're defending ourselves. We're not aggressing anybody.
Are you calling for a more global, a more intense intifada against Israel right now? Do you think this is what should be done?
What can the Palestinian people do? What can they do if the occupation continues, and if the colonization extends and continues, and if Israeli aggressions continue on the part of the soldiers and the settlers, and if the world can no longer force Israel to withdraw from the Palestinian land? What can the Palestinian people do? If the international community is incapable of helping our people, there is no other solution apart from fighting against this occupation in order to put an end to this occupation and to put an end to Israeli aggression. All the peoples of the world have exercised their right to resistance, and I say so to all the leaders. There are two possibilities facing the Palestinian people. Either the international community helps us to put pressure on the Israeli authorities to change things. Israel is responsible for the failure of the peace negotiations, or you must help the Palestinian people in its fight for independence, and the responsibility is with the Israelis.
I want to talk about the Palestinian Authority, just to rebound on what you just said. Yeah. the Palestinian Authority, despite all the tensions with Israel, is continuing the security cooperation with Israel. Is this a good thing?
This is certainly something very negative. It's not in the national interests of Palestine.
Are they betraying the Palestinian people by doing that?
Cooperation in the field of security with Israel is not in the national interests of Palestine. It is negative, and it's a free service which we are providing to the Israeli authorities. And indeed, the Central Council of the PLO has decided to put an end to this cooperation. The Palestinian Authority has to apply this decision without mentioning our national interests, because it's not in the interests of the Palestinians nor in the interests of the PLO, because it encourages Israel to continue with occupation.
So talking about the Palestinian Authority obviously means talking about Fatah. Since, well, nearly 10 years, Palestine has been divided geographically, but also politically, with Hamas controlling Gaza, Fatah controlling the West Bank. There have been a number of reconciliation talks and agreements. You've shook hands many times with the Fatah representatives. I'm not going to make the whole list, yes, but the fact is that this has not worked. There have been meetings here in Doha a month ago, no obvious progress. Are those reconciliation talks making any progress? Is there any hope that the Palestinian factions can reunite?
The latest meetings in Doha have given rise to hope that we will overcome our divisions, particularly as the environment, the context, forces us to make greater efforts in favor of reconciliation. As a leader of the Hamas, representing the leadership of our movement, I am prepared to do everything possible for that reconciliation to be successful.
Will there be other negotiations between Fatah and Hamas soon? Because there was this meeting and then nothing happened.
I insist, yes, there will soon be a meeting. We haven't set the date yet. It will be in the next few days. There will be another meeting to monitor the results of the previous meetings, which will lead to high-level meetings of Hamas and Fatah leaders with other groups to agree on mechanisms for implementing the agreement.
High-level meeting means a meeting between yourself and Mahmoud Abbas.
Currently, these are preliminary meetings, and we hope that they will lead to a meeting between me and Mr. Abu Mazen and with other leaders of all groups in order to make these agreements stick in the form of a roadmap for reconciliation on all issues.
In how much time do you hope there will be such a meeting between you and Mahmoud Abbas?
It is difficult to foresee the dates, but we are making serious efforts.
You've said in the past that there could be maybe a solution whereby there could be an agreement with Israel along the 67 borders, obviously with many conditions. Is this still your position today, or do you think this is over now?
It's Israel which wasted this opportunity. It's Israel that is responsible. The Palestinians agreed in 2006 on a political program, a joint political program based on the right to self-determination for the Palestinian people and to put an end to occupation and Israel's withdrawal from Israel, the West Bank and Gaza, and to create a Palestinian state with Jerusalem as the capital and right of return. It's a national Palestinian project, a joint project, and the Arab states have supported this initiative. But for several years, Israel has foiled all these efforts. So this project exists, and maybe in the near future, the Palestinians, in desperation, faced with the powerlessness of the international community and in the absence of any progress, this may be taken off the table, and this will be Israel's responsibility.
I want to get to the regional situation. Egypt Hamas has sent a delegation to Egypt just a few days after the Egyptian government made very serious accusation, very grave accusation against Hamas, saying Hamas and Muslim brother leaders abroad had conspired, planned a car bomb against Egypt's chief prosecutor, Hisham Barakat, was killed last July. What is your response to those very serious accusations from Egypt?
If these accusations were serious, do you think the Egyptian authorities would meet the leaders of Hamas? It's very strange. We are innocent of all these accusations. We did not intervene in Egypt, neither in the past, nor today, nor in the future. That's why we have wanted to meet Egyptian leaders directly to avoid these accusations through the media, from the media or from Egyptian leaders.
Iran, I want to get to Iran. You were based in Damascus until you left in 2012, if I remember correctly. There were reports that the relationship with Iran was not so good. Then there were some reports recently that your deputy, Musa Abu Marzouk, spoke about Iran not giving financial support to Hamas. However, recently a Hamas delegation went to Iran. Is Iran still the main supporter of Hamas?
Of course, all of this has caused anger on the part of the Syrian regime and has had a negative impact on our relations with Iran, which has also affected Iran's support for the Palestinians. But we haven't broken relations with Iran. We are a movement of national liberation. We have relations with all the states in the world, be they Arab, Muslim or Western. We want to have regional and international relations with everybody in order to get support for our Palestinian cause. Relations with Iran have deteriorated, but there hasn't been a break in relations. And we recently visited Iran in order to sustain our relationship. But I cannot say, as you said, that Iran is our main supporter. We get support from many other players, official and unofficial players, and we're diversifying the sources of support. This is our new policy. Iran used to be our main supporter in the past, but today we are trying to diversify the sources of support, be they official or popular.
Mr. Meshal, the war in Syria has lasted now 5 years. Do you think there is any solution, and does such a solution mean that Bashar al-Assad has to leave power?
In spite of the efforts that we have made recently, unfortunately, I don't see any solution on the horizon in the near future, because there is still a big gap. There's still a big gap between many players, and I hope that this crisis will come to an end very soon.
You did not answer about Bashar al-Assad. You don't want to answer. The Arab League designated Hezbollah as a terrorist group. Is this helpful?
I have no comment to make on this subject.
Is Hamas different than Daesh?
Of course.
Because I'm asking because in the West, obviously, you know, Hamas is a terrorist group, and you know.
It's an attempt by the Israelis to mislead the international community in this regard. And there is a degree of ambiguity regarding the definition of terrorism. People must realize what the reality is. There's a big difference between terrorism, which kills people everywhere in the East and the West without any valid cause and without any political cause, real political cause, and the Palestinian cause. Palestine is occupied, has been occupied for decades, and is defending itself.
Are you afraid Daesh will gain a foothold in Gaza?
These attempts will not succeed because,
They're trying.
yes, there have been some attempts, but they will fail. Why? Because extremist organizations are occupying the voids. They are trying to seize opportunities. But in Palestine, there is no void. There is Hamas, the Islamic Jihad, the other components of the Palestinian region. There's no void and we have a clear national liberation cause in the face of Israeli occupation. And Hamas believes in a moderate Islamism and is fighting against Israeli occupation. And we are open to Arabs, to Muslims, to Christians, and to the whole world. And we're fighting against Israel because they are occupying our country, not because of their religion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Meshal, for answering all our questions. And thank you very much for watching this interview here on France 24 from Doha in Qatar.